Hello and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, got a good one here for you. We have a video from Rector and covering off a few topics here, so watch this, found it quite interesting, and as always thought I'd just add my little 2 cents. As it's been a bit of a while since I've covered anything from him, and as I say, this one did kind of pique my interest. So let's get into this. I've took my bullet points and I'll go through these, and then I'll just go through it and obviously let you know my thoughts. So first and foremost, we have a post from someone. It's Smoke DQG, but the smoke instead of an O is a Q. And we have a tweet from him. And I'll just tell you what the tweet says. So it says, Swift and Ripple documentation that Ripple can simply integrate with banks' back office systems within weeks. With bank grade security and being an institutional favorite, it's obvious why when banks want to go cross border, they choose Ripple. Okay, so I always like to fact check everything because I've told you guys before, when I first got into this space, I was being shown a lot of stuff which when I later did my own research, I started to see, okay, some of this stuff doesn't seem quite accurate, that kind of thing. So I don't ever just take things at face value. I like to go and check things out for myself. So I just want to show you something quickly here. So this is another post that he actually made. And we've got here a quote. Out of all cryptocurrencies, why would banks choose Ripple? Because Ripple has the most interest and adoption from central banks and other large financial entities. That's why. And underneath there's actually basically like a photo, right, of a document. So I just want to show you this, okay? Underneath, if we just go a little bit further after that, we've got a guy here who's basically replied to this Smoke guy. And he said, can you provide the link for the presentation from the top screenshot by CSS? When I see reports that still confuse Ripple the company with the native asset of the XRPL and XRP, I'm always worried about the level of research put into it. Smoke replied with, worried about the level of research put in? Then he replied, this has nothing to do with you personally, as you are just providing the information. And then he's put WTBS. If a research group, i.e. CSS, is still confusing Ripple, a private fintech company, to a digital asset after plus 10 years, it just raises red flags for me regarding the quality of the body of work. So, just continuing on. He's then put, Smoke has put, I get it, but what you're talking about is just semantics and a crypto narrative. There isn't any red flags about the research or the document. The other guys then just put, that's fair, but can you still provide the link or the source of the document? He hasn't responded. So I'm just going to be honest with you guys, that's a red flag for me straight away. The fact that he's been responding to him very regularly, and at first he's just like, hey, you know, it's fine, don't worry about it, trust me bro, you know, that kind of thing. And then when he said, hey, I get it, but can you just provide me the source? Then suddenly he's just gone quiet. I don't like that, guys. I'm just going to be honest with you. So straight away, this is a guy who, when I just see him in future, I'm definitely going to have a bit of a question mark over him, because to me, the fact that you're just not willing to provide the source, anyone that's not willing to provide the source of the information that they're providing, to me, that's definitely a red flag straight away. That's definitely going to make me skeptical of that person, because if you've got nothing to hide and you know that the document's secure, just show the source, right? Like, why have you got to hide it? Just provide it. This should be public information anyway. It's not like he's got anything that's, you know, private that anybody else shouldn't be able to get their hands on. He's just a guy on X. So it's not like he's, you know, anyone special like that. So just provide the source. And it would have been different if he just hadn't have responded to him at all. But they literally had a back and forth. And so they've been talking frequently. And then the guy's finished by saying, look, I get what you're saying. Fair enough. But can you just provide the source? And then he's gone quiet on him after all that. So he's had regular conversation saying, don't worry. But then when he said, I get what you're saying, but can you just provide a source for me so I can see for myself? He's gone quiet. So I'll be honest with you straight away. I'm hearing that. And to me, that just throws this out the window for me personally. It's so difficult when I do this stuff, guys, because I feel like I'm just, you know, the dream crusher, right? Like, if I had no soul, I would just say, hey, yeah, you know, Ripple, bullish XRP, but, you know, I've got a conscience and I just want to be honest with you guys. So, take it for what you will in regards to that tweet, the original tweet, but yeah, I don't know, man. For me, I'm just not going to buy that. If you can't even just provide the source of what you're saying to me, that's just a massive red flag. And just remember, like, even on X, people do get paid to post, right? So just understand that. So it's a thing of, you know, people doing this kind of stuff. It's not even just about like, oh, I just want to spread misinformation or anything like that. Like, people get paid to post on X. So this can be a means of revenue for him. So that could be another reason why he's doing this. So, you know, just question things sometimes, guys, because it looks good, it sounds great and that kind of thing. But, you know, sometimes when you just do that little bit of digging, you might get something that, you know, makes you question this or makes you say like, oh, okay, that's not so great, you know, or maybe that's not as accurate as what's being said. So, yeah, in regards to that, I'll be honest with you. Heard it, but for me, if you can't show me a source or anything like that about that person, to me, I'm just not really going to trust anything that you're going to do from there going forward. So for me, I just discount that personally. Okay, moving on. So we've then got the American Institute of Physics acknowledging Ripple and XRP for disrupting cross-border payments. Okay, I did actually see this post. I didn't look at the actual article, to be honest with you, but I did see the post. Not really that surprised about this, to be honest. Ripple have been winning awards for, you know, doing cross-border payments, their technology and that kind of stuff for quite a while now. So this isn't really that surprising to see, but it is good to see nonetheless. And this is one thing that Zach talked about. He's saying, you know, how many institutions have we seen and governments that commend Ripple and XRP? I agree. Yeah, there's many banks, governments who are praising Ripple and XRP, really know about the technology, like they're very, very positive about it. And this is one of the things to me where I get a bit surprised about what happened with the SEC, right? Because when we look at what XRP can do and the way it can just change the whole industry, if it was to be utilized properly to its full potential, like the fact that the SEC were trying to cripple this, I'm surprised that the government didn't kind of step in and say, hey, listen, you know, this is groundbreaking technology here that could massively change our banking system. Now, don't get me wrong, I understand that it is a threat to a certain degree to the legacy financial system in the sense of it's going to be cutting down a lot of money that they could then be making. So obviously a lot of these banks like the fact that these things are a bit more expensive because they can put a higher charge on it, right? So if you knock down the prices significantly, well, they're not going to make any more money on top of it because you can't really justify, for example, doing a payment for, let's just say, you know, under a cent, like a fraction of a cent, but then still charging people like $10 for the transfer. Like, you're just not going to be able to do that. So obviously this is something where at the moment they can kind of charge a bit more money on top, because I don't think it's clear exactly how much a transfer generally costs. We just know what the bank tell us, right? But with XRP, well, we know this for a fact because we've all used XRP, so we can see what the transaction costs are. So they wouldn't be able to kind of try and pull the wool over our eyes in that way and try and make further money out of us in that kind of sense. So when I say a threat to the banking system, I'm not saying like XRP is going to take over the banking system, but it's more just in terms of them potentially losing like money from smaller banks, customers, that kind of thing, for doing cross-border payments in terms of charges and that kind of thing. So yeah, like, I don't know if it's that kind of just trying to, you know, keep the legacy financial systems in the money and that kind of thing. And I've also discussed about XRP potentially becoming a global reserve currency and that being maybe a threat to the American dollar. And maybe that's another reason as to why they've tried to hold XRP back. All possible scenarios, to be honest with you. Each one is valid. But yeah, sometimes I just think, why didn't the government step in? You know, like Congress, etc. Why didn't they jump in and say, hey, you know, get your act together, start doing these regulations, you know, come on now. Like, you're taking way too long with all this and you're going way above your reach. But, you know, here we are. But as you were saying, yes, I've definitely seen many companies, banks, governments speaking positive about Ripple and XRP. So this is just another thing here, another acknowledgement, stuff that we already know in terms of disrupting cross-border payments. We know that's one of like XRP's main use cases. So definitely good to see there. So then Zach just talks about how, you know, there's people still on X and, you know, social media in general, YouTube, etc., still trying to FUD XRP, even with, for example, like the AMM saying how this is going to be something that people just get scammed, another way for people to get scammed and stuff like that. And, you know, like, I do agree with that to a certain degree. Like, there are people out there who just like to FUD XRP. But the thing is, you get both sides of the coin, right? Like, you've got people who are dramatically going out their way to try and FUD XRP, but then you've got on the other side of it, the people are going dramatically out their way to hype XRP. So, you know, it's like the extreme of both sides, you know what I mean? Like, you've got people who are saying, you know, XRP is going to go to just crazy numbers that are just not realistic. And then, yeah, you've got these people who are just saying, yeah, XRP is going to die and, you know, it's already dead and it's a scam coin and that kind of thing. So it's just swings and roundabouts, to be honest with you, when you ask me about that kind of stuff. Like, you just have to be able to filter through and try and get the in-between, because the in-between's really like the more logical side. Like, it's not hype, it's not, you know, it's dead. It's the in-between where you've got kind of logic and reason, that kind of thing. But yes, definitely all types of walks of life when you go on social media, that kind of thing. So yeah, it is a thing where it can really just mess up your timeline, to be honest with you, when you see this kind of stuff, which is why I have got an X profile, but I'm not on there too much because, yeah, it's a bit of a cesspool sometimes, you know, sometimes going through all these things that you see, it's like, you know, a bit much. But anyway, moving on. And this is really like the main thing that I wanted to discuss here, because this was a very great point. So Zach, and I want to say I'll give props to Zach for this, because I like the fact that he said this specifically. He then talked about what he wanted to talk about now, and this is in regards to XRP being a bridge for gold-backed assets. And he said, you know, all the money. Then he said, you know, not just the XRPL, but we are prepared to handle all the money. I think that was really great to see Zach say that, because, again, these are the types of buzzwords that people hear and think this is all going to be XRP. And it's just not. When people say like all the money, that kind of thing, people think absolutely everything that's going to be tokenized on Earth is going to be on the XRP ledger, which just isn't realistic. And I can already tell you that's false now, because I know for a fact that there are things being tokenized on Hedera as we speak. So I know right now, not everything is going to be tokenized on the XRPL, but that's not the point. As long as XRP can get a piece of that action, that's still great value. And just because you won't get everything tokenized on the XRP ledger doesn't mean that they couldn't get, let's say, 30% or 40% or even 50%, right? So it's not about getting everything. It's just about getting a good chunk of it, because that's going to be a good chunk of value that's then flowing through the XRP ledger. So really respect to Zach for just pointing that out. I think that's a great thing to say, just to give people realistic expectations. So props to him for that. We then have a post by David Schwartz. Now, I will just say this before I get into this. I haven't found this post or anything, so I don't know if this was from an interview or maybe a post that he's done back in the day on X or whatever. I'm not 100% sure, so I can't really fact check this, but this is just what the post says, okay? So we have David Schwartz, and he said, quote, "There might be demand for gold assets backed by a counterpart as a bridge. But ultimately, I think that will produce an island of liquidity that will still require a universal asset, because the world certainly won't agree on a counterparty if they don't have to." Okay, and so Zach then just basically broke this down, and he's just basically saying, to give you the simplified version of this, if you can't show us the gold, then how can we trust you? And yes, I agree with what he's saying there. So he's basically saying no one really wants to use each other's like CBDCs and stuff like that, because how can they necessarily redeem it if they don't know if it's truly backed by gold? Like, they don't really know. So it's kind of like basing it all on just a trust system. But are all countries going to trust each other? Right? Are Ukraine right now going to trust Russia? Right? So like, when you think about it in that regard, it's about, okay, if we use, for example, XRP, well, we haven't got to settle in the other country's CBDC, right? We just convert it over to the other CBDC. And so that's where I think it does make sense. So although I haven't seen this post by David Schwartz, it sounds like to me something that he would say. I'm just going to be honest. I'm guessing if he actually did or not, but it sounds logical from just hearing the post, and, you know, I can't verify it, but to me, that sounds, you know, completely reasonable. And this is the whole reason when we talked about a global reserve currency, why you would want a decentralized cryptocurrency, because there's other countries out here that won't ever have the opportunity to become a global reserve currency. Like, there's some countries that are just never going to have that opportunity. So for them, they're just going to look at it as, well, why do we want to keep helping another economy in another country when it's not really helping us? You know, why do we want to keep using their currency and keep boosting up their economy while our economy suffers? So if you start going to using a decentralized cryptocurrency, well then no one benefits, right? No one gets the upper hand because the world reserve currency is no longer a country's fiat currency. Do you see what I'm saying? And this is why I was saying to you guys before, the idea of maybe this being why the SEC went after Ripple, it is plausible because maybe they saw, hold on, if XRP was to become a global reserve currency, the US dollar will now lose its global reserve currency status. And so all the money that we're getting right now from being a global reserve currency, we lose. That could greatly damage our economy. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it's just an idea, but I don't know like if this is actually what it was, but I think it's plausible to say maybe the SEC were just trying to protect the US dollar as a global reserve currency. It's possible. I don't know for sure, so I don't want to go too far with that, but it was just a thought that I had when I was looking at the whole ETHgate thing, because there's a guy, Steven Nairamoff, who was talking about all this, and he was saying like how the bribery and the corruption and all this kind of stuff, and the more deeper you go into it, the more you learn about it. And I was just like, yeah, like maybe this is part of the plan. Maybe this is part of what it was all about. So I don't know anything for sure, so I'm not going to say that as a matter of fact, but it really did make me think. But yes, in regards to that post by David Schwartz, potentially, because as I say, I can't fact check it, but it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. This is why XRP is so great in that regard, because it can just be the bridge asset to convert from one currency to another. So you haven't got to worry about counterparty risk in that sense. It's, you know, you just transfer over whatever you want to transfer and it eventually will go to you in your currency. So you ain't got to worry about holding our currency. We haven't got to worry about holding your currency. We'll just transfer in our own currencies. We haven't really got to deal with each other in terms of, you know, each other's currencies. We'll just let them convert over through XRP. So that really does make sense. So if they do go to, you know, like a gold-backed CBDC, and just to make this clear as well, just so people don't get this confused, this isn't XRP being backed by gold. So I just want to make that clear because I've done a video before as to why that wouldn't happen and can't happen. But this isn't XRP being backed by gold. This is talking about assets that are backed by gold being transferred via the XRP ledger, as XRP as the bridge asset, basically. So if you're talking about, let's just say, a CBDC that now gets backed by gold being transferred to another CBDC that's backed by gold, and XRP is basically the bridge for that transfer. So yeah, completely plausible, to be honest with you. So I'd be interested to see if this is where things can go. But it sounds completely reasonable. So we'll have to see how things go. You know, I don't know if gold-backed CBDCs are the future. I know there's been a few rumblings lately, in terms of countries thinking about this, and BRICS, you know, is a group that are looking to do this, I believe, as well. So, you know, it's definitely plausible that this could be how things go in the future. And it'll be interesting to see if XRP does get a piece of that action, because again, if it does, I think that will only aid to its obvious adoption and also to its value. So, definitely a great point there, but time will tell. So overall here, good video by Zach. Really like the points that he's addressed here, and yeah, I think overall this all looks promising for XRP. Obviously the first point I said, I'm going to just discount that one because there was no real backup in terms of a source, so I'm going to discount that. But the other things that we've discussed, all looking great, to be honest with you. So, you know, as the market's starting to heat up and whatnot, I know there's been a bit of a dip lately, but to be honest with you, if you've ever been through a bull run before, you know this is still part of the process. It doesn't mean that everything's gone now and, you know, that's the end of the bull run. No, not at all. There are retraces in bull runs. It does happen. So for me, I'm just getting ready for the market as it continues to heat up, and I'm getting ready for XRP's time, man, because I think it's due. I think it's more than due. So we will see how it all goes from here, but definitely exciting times ahead. But what do you guys think with everything that Zach Rector has covered in this video? Do you like the sound of this? Is there anything in particular that Zach covered that you think will be good for XRP's price? Or do you not like the sound of this? Is there anything that Zach covered that you think could actually be negative for XRP? Or do you just think the things that Zach covered won't be good for XRP's price overall long term? Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'd be interested to hear. Thank you very much for watching this. If you did like it, please remember to drop a comment, like, and subscribe. But until next time, take care.